Happy Halloween, everyone. Today's Leagues 4 video will be a deep dive into Asgarnia, exploring everything that the region has available to you in your League's journey. Asgarnia is a pretty big region, and because it's right next to the starting area, you can basically draw an imaginary line from Draenor to Port Sarim that kind of goes up through Barbarian Village, and then this wall right here, so like Edgeville Monastery, that would all be part of Asgarnia. And then basically this entire playfield going from Falador, Port Sarim, Rimington, up to the Dwarven Mines, Taverley, and Burthorpe, and also Troll's Stronghold and the God Wars Dungeon. So most of Troll Country ends up being part of Asgarnia as well. On top of that, you'll also have access to Intrana and the Void Knight Outpost, so you can play Pest Control. Automatically unlocked with Asgarnia are a couple quests. You're basically going to get the entire My Arms Big Adventure unlocked, along with some of the prerequisites. This would include Troll Stronghold and Edgar's Ruse, which gives you the ability to make Law Runes, and the Trollheim Teleport. So you'll have that unlocked right when you unlock Asgarnia. You'll also have Merlin's Crystal unlocked. This is just because it's a prerequisite for Heroes Quest. Speaking of quests, there's a lot of additional quests that you can complete with Asgarnia unlocked that can give you tons of experience and really boost your account. Don't forget that experience rewards from quests do get affected by whatever experience multiplier you have. So if you're maybe close to getting the next tier, let's say you're very close from going to an 8 times multiplier to a 12 times multiplier, you might want to try to do a couple tasks, get a couple points. That way you can get that higher multiplier and then go complete quests for even more bonus experience. Doric's Quest is a very simple early game quest that you can do for a ton of mining experience. The Knight's Sword is also very easy to complete and gives you a ton of smithing experience. Witch's House gives you 4,000 hit points experience. Very easy to complete as well. Doesn't have a lot of requirements, although you might want to be careful doing this super early because sometimes when there's like a huge crowd of people here, it can be hard to actually like get through the door and actually do like the fights at the end. But all the fights in Witch's House are safe spottable. Recruitment Drive in Falador also has very easy requirements. It gives you 1,000 Herblore, Prayer, and Agility experience, and that can kind of get those skills going. The most busted experience quest, though, is going to be Grim Tales. Because of the changes to, master quests now and giving them more experience, Grim Tales gives you 60,000 woodcutting, 25,000 agility, and 25,000 thieving, 15,000 Herblore, 10,000 farming, and 5,000 hit points. It is a crazy amount of experience from this quest. That's all going to get multiplied. The requirements are not very hard, so definitely get this out of your way. You'll get like over 1 million experience. As I mentioned earlier, you can complete Heroes Quest with just Asgarnia. Although if you unlock the Fremennik area, you'll have Dragon Slayer 2 unlocked, which will auto-complete Heroes Quest. Just remember that you will need a partner for the Shield of Erev section from somebody with the other gang. With Kandrin unlocked, you'll be able to complete the Dwarf Cannon quest and buy yourself a Dwarf Cannon to use. Again, that's going to require Asgarnia and Kandrin, but having a cannon is pretty cool. It does speed things up. And you'll also be able to do Troll Romance with Kandrin unlocked. This is because you need a bucket of wax from the beehives there. And this gives you a pretty healthy amount of agility experience. Unlocking Asgarnia adds a number of Slayer tasks to your, combined list. This includes Black Dragons from the Taverley Dungeon, Blue Dragons in the Taverley Dungeon, Hellhounds can also be found in the Taverley Dungeon. And again, you don't have to do them in Taverley Dungeon. This is just kind of like where you'll be able to find them. You can do them anywhere you want. You'll also get Skeletal Wyverns as a task in the Asgarnia Ice Dungeon. You might be wondering how you can get an Elemental Shield, and because Elemental Workshop 2 is auto-completed for everybody in Mistlin, you'll be able to buy Elemental Shields in general stores. And so this is going to be used for Skeletal Wyverns as well as the Fossil Island Wyverns on Fossil Island in Mistlin. You'll also get Spiritual Creatures, which can be found in the God Wars Dungeon. You'll get Trolls as a task, and if you complete a Porcine of Interest, you can also get assigned Sour Hogs, but these guys really suck. I don't know why you would ever do them. Now, based on what I've said already, you might realize that there is quite a lot of combat to do in Asgarnia. In fact, I think that Asgarnia is a very combat-dense region. The only zone that has more combat, in my opinion, is Mauritania. That being said, Mauritania has a lot more of endgame and very high-level combat, things like the Theater of Blood and the Nightmare. Asgarnia is a little bit more of that mid-game, intermediate combat skill level stuff. So if you're trying to get your hands into some PvM and you want a zone that has, a number of PvM encounters in the late game, this one is a fantastic option to go for. Just be careful when picking your zones that you don't pick stuff that has like 3 really dense PVM zones. Otherwise, you might find yourself running into a number of issues when you have to grind like several bosses, and you of course risk going dry on those bosses as well. This means that Asgarnia is also kind of limited in the amount of skilling options that you have available. Personally, that's why I don't think Asgarnia is the best first zone to go for, because there's so much to do combat wise. Every single elite and master task is combat related, and even a lot of the easy and medium and hards are also combat related. And in general, Leaks tries to push you to do a lot of skilling in the early game. That's where you have all of like your skilling relics and whatnot. And then once you get into more of like the mid to late game, once you've unlocked more relics, then combat really just takes over, and you have all of your OP relics unlocked, and you can go farm bosses and stuff like that. So I don't think Asgarnia is like a great first zone, but I've seen a couple arguments for it being pretty good, and it does have all those early game quests. So it's up to you. So now I spent all that time talking about PVM stuff. Let's actually start this video talking about skills, work our way down through the available skilling options, and then we'll come back and do all the combat encounters. So while Asgarnia is not a great skilling option, it has like the pinnacle of skilling items, the Max Cape. You can only get this in Asgarnia. And this allows you to get the skill cape perk from every single skill cape. You of course have to be max first, but that's not that hard to do in leagues. You will be able to do that if you're putting in the hours. This is nice because it's going to give you the skill cape perks, even for some skill capes that you might not have access to based on your region selection. So let's say you went Asgarnia, but you didn't go Kandarin. Well, Kandarin is required to get the magic skill cape, which lets you change spell books, right? But now if you're maxed, you can actually just get that and then use it anyways. Most of the skill cape perks are pretty useful. Here's just a couple that I saw that I kind of stood out. The attack skill cape perk allows you to fight Cyclops in the Warriors Guild without spending tokens. The construction cape gives you unlimited teleports to your house. The cooking cape makes it so that you never burn food. You might think this is a bit of a waste, but remember that there are tasks for every skill up to 50 million experience. So for a very, very fast skill like cooking, you're going to want to go past 99 and actually get, maybe there's a task for 25 mil, but there's going to be tasks up to 50 mil though. The crafting skill cape teleports you to the crafting guild, and you'll be able to use the bank here. This is one of the fastest teleports to the bank in the entire game. Unlimited teleports there. The Herblar skill cape lets you use grimy herbs in place of cleaned herbs. The Hunter Cape gives you teleports to red or black chins, although that will require the region as well. The Prayer Skill Cape acts as a Holy Wrench, so it gives you more prayer every time you take a sip of Prayer Potion. The Runecraft Cape acts as every single talisman, and you have no degradation while using essence pouches. Smithing gives you the effect of the Goldsmith Gauntlets. Typically, you would have to have the desert unlocked to be able to actually get those. And Thieving gives you a 10% increased chance of pickpocket. So you'll get all of those with just one item. My Armor's Big Adventure being auto-completed gives you a disease-free herb patch up here. This is just on top of the Troll Stronghold. This agility shortcut, however, will require the Fremenic Hard Diary completed, so you will need that, otherwise you'll have to take the long path through the Stronghold. You'll also get access to the Rogue's Den. You can go ahead and talk to Grace to get any pieces of your graceful outfit. This is typically a task for Asgarnia, which kind of sucks because you have to do a lot of rooftop courses to actually get this. And you don't really need the graceful set because, you have unlimited run energy anyways. But yeah, this is just going to be one of those things you're going to have to do. You also get Amylase packs, which can be used to make stamina potions, which again, you'll have unlimited run energy, so it won't help that much. The Rogue's Den also has a very convenient fire that's right next to a bank. So if you don't have access to a closer range, or if you're cooking something that has 100% guaranteed, this is just really convenient. There's also a place to buy lockpicks. Not every region has that, so it could be nice depending on what you're doing. And you'll also get access to the Rogue's Den minigame. This requires 50 agility and 50 thieving. And this is how you're going to get your Rogue's outfit, which boosts drops from thieving. You may also want to wait for level 80 thieving, which gives you a shortcut through this. Because, thieving is so fast to get anyways, and it's just going to help you actually get that Rogue's outfit. As of now, I don't believe that the outfit is a boosted drop rate, but that may change. And I guess I should kind of put a preface here that everything I say in these videos is, it's not confirmed yet because we don't actually have leaks out. So anything I say can change. This is just me doing the best with what information we have so far and based off previous leaks. Heroes Quest Unlock will give you the ability to buy a Dragon Battle Axe or a Dragon Mace, which can be pretty nice weapons to use, depending on your region selection if you don't have access to a better melee weapon. Most importantly, though, you'll be able to access the basement, which has the Fountain of Heroes. This can be used to charge your Amulet of Glories, and you either need this or you need the Fremenic unlock to be able to charge glories over in the Myths Guild. Also, some Runite rocks here and some blue dragons that you can safe spot if you'd like. There's a couple of rune crafting altars that you can get with Asgarnia. The Mind Altar over here, the Body Altar just south of Edgeville Monastery, the Air Altar, which is located south of Falador, and you'll also have access to the Law Altar on Entrana. Law runes are obviously pretty good, so being able to make them on demand is quite convenient. Over in Falador, we have Herquin here, who sells uncut sapphires. This might seem kind of useless because if I buy one, it goes out of stock, but on the League's world, every transaction will reset the shop. I talked about this a bit in my Karamja deep dive if you want to go and see that more in depth. Basically, this means that with Asgarnia and Falador, you'll be able to buy as many uncut sapphires if you want, just spam buying them, and then you'll be able to cut them with a chisel and sell them back to him. You'll actually be making money on top of quite a lot of crafting experience. This is a very strong method in the early game to get your crafting up. You'll also be able to start the Mahogany Homes minigame. This does require you to talk to Amy to begin running it, and this might be a very easy way of getting your construction up if you don't yet have planks or enough basically cash on hand to do some of the more faster construction methods. With Mahogany Homes, you'll only get rooms available that are in the regions that you've selected. So to start off with, you'll have Varrock, obviously in Mistalin. Asgarnia will give you Falador, which you'll obviously need to actually go ahead and start the minigame. Unlocking Kandrin will give you the houses in East Ardoon. And unlocking Zaya would give you the houses assigned over in Hasidius. So just be aware of your region selections, and it might be nice to do this with just Mistalin and Asgarnia unlocked, so you only get Varrock and Falador, and obviously the Falador ones are really, really close. For agility, you'll get the Falador agility course, requires level 50. It's pretty easy to do, and it's more experience than what you might have in Mistalin. And otherwise, Asgarnia is really good for mining. You got quite a number of options. Going down to the Dwarven Mine, there's a mining shop that sells, I think it's this one right here. It sells you a rune pickaxe. One of the easier ways to get a rune pickaxe. You won't have to do golems in the Enchanted Valley to get it. You'll also be able to trade Desuri for shooting stars. This includes the Celestial Ring, which gives you a 1 in 10 chance of receiving an extra ore, and it also gives you a +4 mining bonus. But you'll also be able to buy the bag full of gems and the soft clay pack with any stardust you get. And it might actually be pretty valuable to, stock up on a bunch of stardust and get your gems through here, get a ton of early crafting experience done. And you'll also get access to the mining guild. This has a couple of 3 iron rocks, which is really fast mining experience. You can see there's people doing it even on the regular game. These iron rocks also respawn a bit faster, so they're very, very good. And they're also very, very crowded. Additionally, in the mining guild, you have amethyst rocks. This does require 92 mining. It's a pretty high requirement, but it's also very AFK and can be used for any kind of amethyst bolts that you need to make. And you'll get the Motherlode Mine. This, of course, is where you're going to be able to buy your Prospector outfit, which gives you additional mining experience and is generally a task. It's also required for the Falador Diary. You'll also be able to buy a coal bag and a gem bag, and I believe you can also buy a bag full of gems, which gives you an assorted amount of uncut gems, just like the Stardust Trader. Okay, and we're almost done. So these wizards over here next to Malignius Mortifier, they can be killed for a 1 in 20 chance at their respective talismans. So if you need to get a talisman early, these guys are pretty good. And over in Remington, you'll also have a house portal that you can use. This one's really nice because it's very close to Files, you can trade noted planks to him to unnote them, get them unnoted, come back. You can do the same with bones too. So if you're trying to train prayer through a gilded altar or basically any altar you have in your house, or if you're just trying to train construction, this can be a nice option. Although I'm sure that there's probably going to be faster stuff if Last Recall comes back when you could just teleport right away. Okay, and technically this is in Mistalin, but you would need Asgarnia to complete the Death to Dorgeshan quest, and that's actually going to give you access to Dorgesh Khan. I believe there's a number of other ways of getting this, but Asgarnia is the most straightforward. Really, the only things to note here is there is an agility course. It's a bit more on the high end, so it might be, I think it's faster than the Falador agility course, but there's also a bone collector, and this guy's really good because you can turn in long bones and curved bones for a huge amount of construction experience. So just save them, and then, when you either need a construction level or you just wait for the high experience multipliers, you can just turn them all in. and get hundreds of thousands in like one inventory. All right, and we can move on to combat, starting with pest control over at the Void Knight's outpost. Completing pest control will allow you to buy the Void Knight set, as well as the helmet for the respective combat style that you want to go for. If you wanted to upgrade it to the Elite Void set, though, that's going to be a bit more difficult. You're actually going to need exactly Kandarin, Asgarnia, and Tirunwin, because the Elite Void set requires the Western Provinces Diary, and that one's kind of all over the place. So if you're going exactly Kandarin, Asgarnia, Tirunwin, then you can get Elite Void as well, which is pretty good. And Kandarin, Asgarnia, Tirunwin is not really a bad range route. So Elite Void going range, you might actually work. However, I think the real strength here is the fact that you can actually trade points for experience, and you can also do that for prayer experience. Minigames and leagues will also have boosted rates, so if you're getting like 3 times or 4 times the amount of points, this could actually be some pretty damn crazy fast prayer experience. One thing I will say, though, is towards the beginning of leagues is probably the best time you want to be doing pest control. You don't have to do this in like the first week, but I would definitely say like, if you're going to be doing pest control, try to get it done, sometime in the first month or so. Because if you save this for the end, it's going to look just as deserted as it is on this world. There's not a lot of people who are playing pest control in like the last week, and you might not even be able to get a boat going off the ground. Just under Falador Park, you'll have access to the mole. I can't say too much about the mole other than it's probably going to be a task. Last time there was a task for 750 mole kills. Just do your best to speed this up. Try to do as much damage as you can to it. You are going to need a light source to be able to see in here. And I would also recommend completing the Falador Hard Diary, which gives you the locator shield, which tells you where the mole is because it obviously likes to dig. And also, as long as you're praying melee, the mole can't do any damage to you. So if there's any kind of effect where like the lower health you have, whether that's like the Darok set, maybe that's a relic where, low health you do more damage, try to abuse that for the mole because obviously it's just like basically you're just DPSing a target dummy. Now, while the mole doesn't drop anything great, you can trade the drops over to Wyson, like I think the claws and the hides, and you can trade that for Bird's Nest. This could be a pretty effective way of getting Bird's Nest outside of birdhouses on Fossil Island, which you'll be able to use later to make Ceradomin brews. This just gives something for, killing a bunch of moles. At the very least, like if you're going to kill 500 moles, maybe you'll just have like a huge collection of Bird's Nest and you don't have to go for like a herblore-based relic instead. It's just something to consider. Yeah, I'm doing my best to make moles sound better than it is. With Desert Treasure 2 unlocked, you'll also have access to the Whisperer boss. She's very weak to magic, so if you're going like a mage route, this might be a nice way of, doing your Desert Treasure 2 bosses and getting Virtus robes. And even though this is a mage-focused boss, you can probably do it in other styles, although I think melee might be pretty difficult because she has a very hard-hitting melee attack. I'm not sure exactly how that will work, unless you just do crazy damage. She also drops the Bellator ring, which is one of the strongest attack boosting rings in the game. However, this would require Desert to unlock, Asgarnia to unlock the Whisperer, and also Fremenic to be able to, take the Bellator Vestige and upgrade it to the Bellator Ring. Okay, and also I didn't really know where to mention this, but there is the Ruins of Camdazal, which you'll have access to. I tried to look into this. Honestly, most of this is like free-to-play, super early game stuff. There might be like a task to go mine some Baronite, but nothing here looked that interesting, so I didn't really want to go into it too deep. There's probably going to be like a task or two here, though. One of the larger underground sections of Asgarnia is the Taverley dungeon, which talked a little bit about when talking about Slayer tasks. But of course, they'll have blue dragons here with a couple safe spots. Keep in mind, to get through this gate, you'll either need level 70 agility to squeeze through this pipe. You can also skip a little section with 63 agility. But to actually get through this gate right here, if you don't have 70 agility, you'll need a Dusty Key, which you can get. I believe you have to kill a guy here and then free this dude from a cell. But yeah, Dusty Key lets you get in here, or just have the agility level. Climbing up these steps or taking these rocks, which have a level 70 agility requirement, will take you to the Slayer area. The agility requirement, there's like a Slayer task area where you can only fight blue dragons if you're on a task. But if you just climb up these rocks, you get to the Black Dragon Slayer task only. The baby black dragons are really nice because you can, slam black dragon tasks really fast by just killing those. Or you can move further on down to the Slayer task only black dragon area. Obviously, there's like a ton over here, and it's probably not going to be very crowded. So if you do need to kill black dragons, you're more than welcome to do them over here. To get to the deeper part, you can, either take the long way, or you can jump over this strange floor, which would require level 80 agility. I'm just going to take the obstacle pipe, though, because I don't have level 80 agility. Be sure to bring some dragon fire, because the blue dragons can hit kind of hard. So in this deeper part, you'll be able to access the black demons as well as a bunch of hellhounds. And there's also some more black dragons here, but I would just go with the Slayer area only. You can see that there's a ton of black demons over here. I like to set up a cannon like right over here, and then you can actually like hide here basically and safe spot, and then your cannon will basically tag everything for you. I have no idea what these tiles are for though, if I'm going to be honest. In the very back half, you'll have access to the Obelisk of Fire. This is nice if you want to make fire orbs and make fire battle staffs. I don't think this is a great way of training crafting, but if you have all the supplies anyway through like boss drops or something like that, you just got a bunch of battle staffs. It can be quite a lot of crafting experience. You might want to be able to do that. Climbing up the ladder next to the black dragons would require Kandarin, but this is how you're going to get the Obelisk of Water. You can't actually access this without Asgarnia too. And finally, just past the Hellhounds, you'll be able to go ahead and access Cerberus, located in this cave over here. You can see that it branches in 3 different paths. I don't know if this will be available as an instance. We'll get into this, but you might not actually want it to be an instance anyways. So Cerberus requires level 91 Slayer, and you also have to be on a Hellhound task to actually go ahead and kill it. The main drops from Cerberus is the Primordial Crystal, which you can use to upgrade Dragon Boots into Primordial Boots. Luckily, you also get Dragon Boots from Asgarnia, so that's not an issue. You'll also get the Pegation Crystal, which lets you make Pegation Boots. This is an upgrade to Ranger Boots, which you'll have to do from clues. Good luck getting those. And you'll also get the Eternal Crystal, which you can upgrade Infinity Boots into Eternal Boots. This would require the Desert because you get those through Mage Training Arena. But this is your best in slot boots for all 3 combat styles. In addition, Cerberus also drops the Smoldering Stone. This is used to make the Infernal tools. However, this would require the Dragon version of the tools, which are not accessible to every region. So the Dragon Pickaxe, you would have to get that from the Wilderness, completing the Wilderness bosses, or you can also get it in the Desert by fighting the Calphite Queen. The Dragon Axe is obtainable through Zaya by doing Wintertod, or you can access it through Fremennik by fighting the Dagonath Kings. And the Dragon Harpoon is only accessible from Zaya by fighting worms. One mechanic that Cerberus has is she will summon 3 souls that you're supposed to pray correctly against. In previous leagues, I know that you could actually teleport out and then last recall back to skip the souls. I'm not sure if that is making a comeback, but that's one of the really cool uses of last recall, and that's why you actually don't want to be doing it in an instant. So you can instantly teleport back and all the damage you've done is still preserved and just keep going on with the fight and just skip the mechanic entirely. Also, Cerberus does have a couple other like pretty good drops from her drop table. She can drop Torstols, which you can use to make super combat potions. She drops Noted Dragon Bones, which can be used for any prayer you want to do. And she also drops Cannonballs if you have access to a Dwarf Cannon. Again, that would require Asgarnia and Kandarin. Okay, and the Warriors Guild. This is going to be a pretty important region, so you can go ahead and get your Defenders. Dragon Defender is basically, one of the best offhands you can get. And if you wanted to get the Avernic Defender, that would also require Mauritania. Keep in mind, though, that Mauritania only drops the Avernic Hilt. You would still need a Dragon Defender from Asgarnia anyways to even be able to use your Avernic Hilt from Mauritania. So I talked about how you can use the attack cape. So if by some chance you had level 99 attack, you could get the attack skill cape and then you wouldn't have to get tokens. However, you may not want to wait until you're 99 attack to go ahead and get your defender. So what you'll be doing is you'll be animating armor by using a full set of armor. That's a full helm, a plate body, and a plate legs over at this magical animator. The most effective is mithril armor. You can get a mithril full helm from Barbarian Village. You can get a mithril plate body from Varrock. However, mithril plate legs are kind of tricky. You're either going to need Fremennik to get them from the Yatizo store. You can buy it in Prif if you have Tyranwin unlocked. Or you can go to the Desert. There's a plate leg shop there. If that's not an option, you can also use black animated armor. And this is all found in Varrock. The black plate body and the black plate legs are both sold from the armor shop. They're actually adding black plate legs specifically for leagues. And you can get a black full helm from the Champions Guild, which everybody will have access to right from the start because Dragon Slayer 1 is auto-unlocked. And of course, once you've gathered enough tokens, you can go up here and start fighting Cyclops. Every single defender will have the boosted drop rate, so you might want to wait until you actually get those boosted drop rates before starting your defender grind just to make it a little bit easier. In previous leagues, this place was pretty crowded and a bit of a bottleneck. However, I think once you have the boosted drop rates, people are going to be spending so much less time here. So I don't think it's going to be as much of an issue as it was in previous leagues where only the Dragon Defender got the boosted drop rate. One thing I would really encourage you to do is if you have a relic that lets you pick a Slayer task, Cyclops do count as hill giants. So you might want to combine some of your early Slayer training with getting your defender and just do these on task because you're going to get a ton of Slayer experience anyways. The top floor is used to get your bronze through Rune Defender, and once you have a Rune Defender, you'll be taking the ladder down, getting your Dragon Defender down from here. Again, that's also going to have the boosted drop rate. Before we leave the Warriors Guild, there is a food shop here with the infinite supply. This means that you'll be able to buy as much food as you want from here. Potato with cheese and stew are both great options. And you may also want to grab some strength and attack potions. This is mainly so that you have some way of buffing your combat before you have the Herblore level to make like super attack or super strength potions. Okay, and we can finally move on to the big one, the God Wars dungeon. Again, this is the Trollheim teleport, which you'll have unlocked with Asgarnia. It only requires 61 magic, not too bad. You can, of course, run here in other ways, but I probably wouldn't do that. If you are running, though, you will need the climbing boots at some point. Climbing boots are also a very good early game strength option, so I would definitely recommend grabbing those. It's kind of nice how in Asgarnia you get the climbing boots, then the dragon boots, then the primordial boots. You get all of your melee boots just like that. In general, you might have noticed this already, but Asgarnia is very, very good for melee. I would basically consider it the only like must-pick region is melee Asgarnia. Getting through this boulder, you can either push it with 60 strength or you can use the little crack with 60 agility. Once you're actually here, you'll have your run drained as well as some of your stats drained. So I'm going to make my way in. And before you can actually access God Wars Dungeon, you will have to tie a rope. Oh god, have I not tied a rope? Alright, so this is where I embarrassingly reveal that I have never done God Wars Dungeon on my main. Okay, so kind of the big thing about the God Wars dungeon is you're going to need a way of getting protection from the different gods, right? There's 4 gods, Bandos, Zamorak, Armadil, Saradomin, and they will attack, like their little minions will attack you unless you have some kind of god item that will protect you against it. The middle area is probably the most dangerous because there's some from every single faction. However, inside of like the smaller rooms, which we'll talk about in just a bit, there is only that faction enemy plus a bunch of Zamorak guys. I don't know why there's Zamorak ones in every single one of them. But yeah, so just make sure you have some kind of Zamorak. Just make sure you have some Zamorak item on top of the respective faction that you're trying to go to. That's also why I'm hiding in this Zamorak area, because this one has only Zamorak, so I can't be attacked as long as I have a Zamorak item. In this case, my Zamorak cape. Okay, so how do we actually get god protection items? Honestly, the best way of doing this is to just do clues. There's a whole ton of item from the Blessed D'hide chaps to miters and halos and stoles. There's just a lot of different clue scroll items that give you God Wars protection, and it's just the easiest way of getting it done. You're also probably going to want to do clues anyway to get like your ranger boots and your purgation boots. The hard part is getting like the right faction that you need, because sometimes you might have like 4 Armadil pieces but you haven't quite got your Bandos piece yet. Also, if you've unlocked the Fremennik area, you'll have the Lighthouse books. This is like the Book of Darkness, Book of War, all that stuff. And there's one for every single faction, so you can just use that as like an emergency last case. For a couple other easy options, if you go down the path of Saradomin, you want to get the Holy Symbol. That's a necklace, very easy to make. You can get the mold over in Rivington. And to actually bless it, you will go over to Edgeville Monastery. That's also where you can get the monk robes from Edgeville Monastery, which requires like 31 prayer. And the monk robe top and the monk robe bottom, those both count as Saradomin items if you need them. For Zamorak protection, the Monk of Zamorak top and bottom are probably your easiest thing to get. You can actually find these over at the Chaos Temple near Bertharp. You can either like walk here or you can just take the shortcut. And you can just kill a bunch of monks in this altar to get your monk robe, or to get the Zamorak top and bottom. This is also where you can telegrab wines of Zamorak. Those are good for making ranging potions. You could also make an unholy symbol. However, this would require Candorant. I think there's a ghost that you need to talk here who will bless your unholy symbol, so it actually works. Or you could use, the the capes from the wilderness, the Ceradoman cape or the Zamorak cape. Those both can function. Okay, for Bandos, I don't think there's really anything that I found that's easy to get. You're just going to have to do clues if you want Bandos protection. And then for Armadil, you can use the Armadil pendant from the Temple of Icove quest. Just make sure you do the correct thing. You have to side with the Armadil people so that they give you the pendant. But that would require Kandarin as well. You might notice that Kandarin and Asgarnia are often linked with each other, so it's a very good combination there. Okay, in general, you would need kill count to actually access, the bosses of each area. This is located as like the Essence tab. You need 40 kills of, whatever random monster to get inside. It's been like a League's tradition at this point where you don't actually need to get kill count. Once you've gotten it one time, the door is basically unlocked for you forever. So hopefully that makes its way back, because getting kill count, it's just really boring in Leagues. I'm also not 100% sure on this, but I recall there being an instance version that you don't have to pay cost for. You can just get the instant version for free. And this is just nice so that you're not competing with other people for the spot. Now, I did also want to talk about Last Recall being really useful in the God Wars dungeon. In fact, they had to change the kill count because of how broken Last Recall was with this. But even then, what you can do while fighting the God Wars dungeon bosses is like you can kill them, and then instead of killing the minions, you'll basically teleport to like your house or teleport to somewhere where you can restore your health, prayer, and then you'll just like last recall back basically. And when you last recall, it will put you back at the entrance, and then you can either go back in or like make a new instance. And it's really, really powerful, especially if you have any kind of like spec weapons, because you'll get all your spec back, and you can just kind of go nuts on these bosses. God Wars dungeon is. I think God Wars Dungeon is a lot of fun on Leagues, honestly. Oh, and then here are the spiritual mages. You can find them in every single zone. These guys drop the dragon boots at a boosted rate as well, which you can upgrade to the prims with the Cerberus crystal. Okay, so let's actually talk about every boss and what kind of items they drop. So to get into the Bandos stronghold, this will require 70 strength and a hammer. I'm just going to tell you this. You are probably going to forget your hammer the first time. It is a canon event, and I cannot interfere. General Grardor inside the Bandos, once you've gotten 40 kill count for the first time, he obviously drops the Bandos chestplate and Bandos tassets. This is, the kind of premium melee gear. It gives you a strength bonus, a prayer bonus. It's really damn good. I would say it's even best in slot, but we'll get to that in just a bit. You'll also get the Bandos boots. These guys aren't as good as dragon boots. It's kind of like a wasted drop. And of course, with every single boss, you'll have the ability to get God Sword shards. Once you've gotten 3 of them, you can actually make the God Sword, and then you'll just combine it with a hilt. This gives you a different special attack. The Bandos hilt gives you the Bandos God Sword, and this is one of the best special attacks in the game. You can use this to drain stats from your enemy, and this always starts with defense, so it's very useful for draining defense from high defense mobs, and then you can just do crazy damage to them, especially if you're able to spec multiple times. Sometimes you can like bring its defense level to really low levels. All right, over in Armadil's Eyrie, this requires 70 range to get across, and you'll also need a mithril grapple and a crossbow. So again, you'll probably forget it. Keep in mind that all of Armadil's minions in the Eyrie will require range or magic to fight. You cannot melee them because they're flying and it's out of range. Kriara is the boss of the Armadil area, and they drop the Armadil chestplate and chain skirt, which are pretty powerful ranged armor. You can also get the Armadil helmet, although it's not as like relatively strong. Getting a full Bandos set and a full Armadil set were both master tasks in the last Trailblazer, so you can probably expect to do this a couple times. Also, speaking of tasks, one thing I really like about God Wars Dungeon is that typically the task is you have to complete a single God Wars Dungeon boss 500 times. This means that if you do all 4 of them anyways, you'll probably go dry on at least one of them, and it's okay. Whichever one you go dry on, you can take that up to like 500 or whatever to actually get your kill count task complete. It's a little bit better than some of the other kill count tasks where you're just doing it for kill count. You're also getting drops along the way. And finally, the Armadil God Sword, which is typically used in PvP, but it has a double accuracy bonus and does a bunch of bonus damage. This might just be a spec weapon that you use for, extra damage on bosses or minions or whatever. Now, the Ceradoman area will require 70 agility, and you'll also have to bring 2 ropes to use this rope shortcut and then this rope shortcut before you can actually access the boss here. Commander Ziliana is the Ceradoman boss, and she drops the Ceradoman sword. This is actually a pretty powerful melee weapon, depending on your regions. I think the whip is better, but this is a pretty good intermediary until then. Unfortunately, you will not be able to upgrade the Ceradoman sword with a Ceradoman's tier because this would require the LMS shop. That would require the Wildy. However, they've confirmed that the Elmesh shop is just not going to be available. So they might add it in some way of upgrading it. But for now, you're just going to have the Saradomin sword, no upgrade. Ziliana also drops the Armadil crossbow. You might be wondering why Saradomin drops the Armadil crossbow, and there is some lore reason. Basically, Ziliana stole it from Kriara. So yeah, just clearing that up. Armadil crossbow is pretty powerful for a ranged weapon, but really its best feature is its spec. This will give you 2 times accuracy when you use a special attack, and it also has a double chance for enchanted bolts to proc. Also in the Saradomin area, you'll get the Saradomin's Light as a rare drop. Basically, you can consume this so that in the Zamorak area, everything's kind of lit up. Typically, it's like a little bit more dark in this area, but once you use the Saradomin's Light, you can see a little bit better. And also, you'll of course get the Saradomin God Sword. This has like a lifesteal effect when you use a special attack. It'll give you some health points and prayer back based on how much damage you did. Okay, and finally, over in the Zamorak area, actually accessing it will require at least 70 hit points. And when you cross the river, you'll also have your prayer drained to 0. So make sure you have some kind of prayer pots or restores available. One thing about Krill is he does act as a greater demon. So if you're doing Krill, you might want to grab a greater demon task so you can get some Slayer experience anyways. You might wonder if you can get Aviancies as a task for Kriara, and unfortunately, Aviancies are not unlocked as a task in Asgarnia, so you would not be able to do that. Okay, Krill drops a couple of really cool items. First off, the Zamorak Spear. This is a pretty decent stab weapon, and additionally, if you have Kandrin unlocked, so Barbarian Hosta training, you can make the Zamorakian Hosta. It's a one-handed version of that. Very good stab weapon. If you had Kandrin, Asgarnia, and Zaya, you could also upgrade that to make the Dragon Hunter Lance, which would require the Hydra's Claw from Alchemical Hydra. That has a bonus damage against any kind of dragon enemy. But yeah, you would need those exact 3 regions to get the Dragon Hunter Lance. Krill also drops the Steam Battle Staff, which gives you unlimited fire and water runes. It's really not that good, but it's just a drop that he'll get. And finally, one of the coolest weapons you can get from Krill is actually the Staff of the Dead. This is one of the few staves that actually has really good melee stats on top of it. It's actually better than the Dragon Scimitar. So you might want to use this as a weapon before you get like a whip or something. It also acts as a crush weapon. So if you ever need crush, this is just it's a nice staff to bonk people with. If you're using it as a staff, it has a 1 in 7 chance to save runes, and it's also capable of auto-casting Flames of Zamorak from the Wilderness, or you can auto-cast Magic Dart, which is the Slayer, like the Slayer ability, or Crumble Undead, which is good against undead enemies. The Staff of the Dead also has a special attack where it will reduce your opponent's melee damage by 50% for like a minute. This could be really, really powerful anywhere where you're taking damage from multiple sources. So like Krill, for example, can do magic and melee damage. So you might want to like pray against melee and then use the Staff of the Dead spec so you're taking half as melee damage. I definitely remember using this in previous leagues and just basically like whacking him to death with his own staff. And if you have access to Tyrannwyn, you'll also be able to use a Magic Fang on the Staff of the Dead to get the Toxic Staff of the Dead. This basically has the exact same stats, except when you use magic, you have a chance of poisoning enemies, so I just wanted to throw that in as well. Hey guys, because it's so useless, I actually forgot to mention the Zamorak Godsword at all. Basically, this special attack has a chance of freezing a person in place, kind of like Ice Barrage. I really don't know when you would ever use it, but getting all 4 Godswords is a master task, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be making a return. So you can probably expect to look for all 4 Godswords regardless. Okay, and I do apologize because I don't actually have access to most of the God Wars stuff. But once you complete the Frozen Door mini quest, basically all 4 of the bosses have a chance of dropping the frozen, like a frozen key piece. Once you get all 4 of them, you'll be able to access Ancient Prison and Nex. Typically, the Frozen Door requires the desert to unlock, but they've just removed that as a requirement. You'll be able to access Nex in the Ancient Prison with just Asgarnia. That's it. In the Ancient Prison area, there's some harder versions of all the monsters you've seen already. Once you kill 40 of them, though, you'll be able to access Nex. There's also a bank right before Nex, so as long as you've gotten that 40 kill count, you can basically, bank and just do Nex as much as you want. In the main game, Nex isn't really possible to do solo, but in leagues, this relics might be an option available, depending on how strong your relics are. We'll have to see. In general, though, you're going to be doing this either with small teams, or there's probably going to be some world that has like a mass. You can do it with like up to 60 people. So I'm sure there's going to be some leagues world designed for Nex where you could just go with a bunch of people and just do crazy, crazy damage to Nex. I can't speak too much about Nex's mechanics because I've literally never done Nex, so that's kind of what I'm planning on doing this league, is to actually go and do some Nex. For the drops, Nex has access to the Zerite Van Braces. This is the best in slot ranged gloves. Nex also drops the Torva pieces. This is the best in slot melee helmet. The Torva plate body is the best in slot melee chest, and the Torva plate legs, best in slot plate legs. However, they start off as a broken version, and then you have to repair them through Bandos components, which you basically take your Bandos pieces and break them down at the anvil. I think even getting a Bandos chest and a Bandos legs, if you break that down, you'll have enough to make your Torva set. And yeah, Torva is crazy good. Obviously, this is why I think if you're going down the melee route, Asgarnia is just really good. Next also drops the Zerite crossbow. This is an upgrade to the Armadillo crossbow. On top of being the best crossbow in the game, it also adds a passive 10% bonus to enchanted bolts. This isn't a percent chance to proc, it actually just increases their effect by 10%. So for example, ruby bolts, which are typically used with these kind of special attack bolts, it goes, instead of doing 20% of the enemy's current health, that will go up and do 22%. And it would also raise the cap from 100 to 110. So you could do 110 with a single ruby bolt proc. Now the special attack is an even better version of the Armadillo spec. And basically you have double accuracy, and if it is a successful hit, basically you don't miss your attack, you'll get the guaranteed effect of the bolt. This is really, really good for ruby crossbow bolts on high health targets. You're doing 110 damage per hit, and that could possibly go even higher with any ranged relics. Just as I talked about with the Dragon Claws or the Void Waker, there is always some build that really capitalizes on special attacks, and the Zerite crossbow is going to be a very powerful option if you're going ranged. If you're able to do like 4 or 5 special attacks with the Zerite crossbow, that could be a ton of damage with the ruby crossbows or diamond for, some more damage. Like you could do some crazy, crazy damage. And I would definitely keep the Zerite crossbow in mind if you're going for a ranged route. Just be aware that the Zerite crossbow is pretty rare to get, as most of the next items are. So I would consider this like one of the longer grinds. Probably not as bad as Twisted Bow, but it is going to take you a while to get your Zerite crossbow. Now, the Ancient God Sword from Nex has a pretty unique ability. Basically, on top of the special attack hit itself, you apply like a debuff to them, and if they don't move away from you, which most NPCs are not going to be running away from you, you'll do 25 damage and lifesteal 25. So, just a little bit of extra damage and sustain. And Nex also drops Nihil Shards, which you can use to make Ancient Brews. This is a magic buff potion, and it'll also give you some prayer points. However, it will drain your attack, your strength, and your defense. You can also upgrade these to Forgotten Brews if you have the Fremenic unlocked for Ancient Essence. Next also drops Blood Essence, which basically just gives you extra blood runes whenever you're rune crafting them. All right, and I think that is just about all the content available in Asgarnia, all the PVM encounters. I think I got all of them. Asgarnia was a really popular zone last leagues, and I think it's still pretty damn strong. Again, as I mentioned, for melee, it's a great pick. But I think that even if you're going, ranged or magic route, there's some pretty good merits for Asgarnia. I really like the fact that, going to the God Wars dungeon can give you some armor and some pieces and some weapons from, styles that you might not be using as your main source of combat, and that can just be a nice way to like round out your build in case you need to train it, or if you're in any area such as raids that your dominant combat style just doesn't work. Thanks again for the support. I know a lot of you guys have been really positive about the Zaya video, and we got a couple more coming down soon. The desert is going to be the next region coming out later this week, so keep your eyes out for that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.